Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. No driving gloves again. We've had some pretty good interviews and a lot of releases lately. Hopefully, it's all fitting your liking. I know we've got some extra time, but we don't have commute time. So hopefully, you're getting all the shows in. You know, Tom Cotter was on recently. We just did the Bill Riley from Riley Technologies, talked about the new pressurized masks our company's building, kind of outside of the racing realm. Who else we had? Jim Simpson recently, and we've got a couple of big names right around the corner. Don't want to announce in case they cancel, but we've got a couple of pretty big names, possibly some TV people, possibly some big YouTube people, but we're working a little bit, or at least pretending to work during all this downtime.
I think you can mention one of them's name, because that's pretty well confirmed.
It's pretty well confirmed. Will's got a friend. He's known for a while. You want to say who you're really trying to get on the show, Will, right now, or?
No, go ahead.
Will's got this. We're hoping to have Courtney Hanson on within the next couple of weeks, which will.
We're not hoping it's going to happen. Okay?
We're going to have Courtney Hanson on in the next couple of weeks.
There you go. Confidence, baby. You got to have it.
Will's got a big announcement tied to that. So as soon as we get all the logistics worked out, her schedule, our schedules, and actually we're going to drop everything for her.
Our schedules are fine. It's literally, it's up to her.
It's the famous person that we're working around. But
trust me, she is bored out of her mind. She has, she's stuck at home. She's in Florida.
Get her on here.
And
sorry, Adam. Goodbye.
Yeah. We don't need to talk to our guest tonight. Let's get a different guest. Come on.
Let's have two guests.
I cleared my schedule to be here. Like, come on.
Yeah, and we have Adam Martin back. We had him back, and like an idiot, I never looked up the show we had him on. It goes back to late fall, sometime late August, September last year. We had Adam on. Maybe by the end of the show, I've looked it up. We talked about the $70 million Porsche and got some feedback because he was present there. But Adam works, he owns a company, Martin International, which is an insurance firm and that. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I gave everybody a little bit of homework inspired by VinWiki, the YouTube channel. I don't know if Adam saw the note, but we'll see if he did. If not, might let him go last. But VinWiki did a thing, and I think they cheated a little bit. They decided, what car would you buy with your stimulus check? The government sent us all $1,200. If you didn't want to spend, if you didn't absolutely need it, you can go out, buy a toy with it, buy a car with it. What would you spend $1,200 on? Well, I wanted to keep our number at $1,200. They let people cheat, go up to about $2,000 because shrewd negotiators. Now, yeah, all of them are car dealers, so they might be able to get $800 off a number or know the right deal. But we're sticking with about $1,200, and we'll go ahead and find out what Will's got going on first.
Well, I can tell you what I found, and I can tell you what I blew my $1,200 on. I was just kind of bumming around Facebook Marketplace just to kind of see what was there. I actually found a 51 Chevrolet, $1,200, pretty solid car. It looks to be pretty much all there. And I was like, man, that's a pretty good buy. One of the coolest things I think I found was a 96 Subaru Legacy. It was $1,400, but I think I could get them down to $1,200,
That's like the second Subaru you found on the inexpensive level, because when I was trying to spend $3,000 last year, which I unsuccessfully did, you had a Subaru you threw out to me too. And I just never see these Subarus. Yep. So must be something for your neck of the woods in the country.
They're not very popular up in my area. I don't know why. They're really awesome cars. They're built very well. They're safe, and they're good cars. And I also found, if you're willing to do a little bit of work, a 2005 Land Rover HSE for $1,000. Got a little body damage. They have the panels to fix it. So I thought that was a pretty good deal.
Discovery?
So.
Yeah. That's actually they're.
No. It's the Ranger. It's not the Discovery. Okay. Yes, the HSE.
Oh my God, dude! For how much?
$1,000.
Whew, that one, a little bit of work.
Not done a whole lot, but I mean, to the people that have owned them, they love them or they hate them. If you know how to work on them, you love them. If you don't know how to work on them, you hate them because they're always tearing up.
That's literally like you're either never going to have to touch it, or it might cost you your house.
The first part of your statement doesn't apply. You're always going to have to touch it, and it's always going to be expensive. But they're hellacious off-roaders, and I mean, really luxurious. It's just some of the little mechanical oddities about them. They're a little bit more sorted now that Tata owns them. Friend that comes into the cigar shop all the time, and he's on like his third or fourth, and he got rid of his last one, and I hate it. And then he walked in a couple of weeks ago and goes, "Hey, guess what I bought?"
For $1,000 though, you can't really go wrong on that. If that actually runs at all, that's crazy. That's a crazy deal.
What I actually just kind of blew my money on was gotten into go-karts at the shop, and it's yard carts only. The motor has to be behind the driver. Can't be a race car
or whatever they are.
Well, that means you're going to have to be on the show we record on May 6th, Will.
I bought I still had my go-kart that my grandfather bought when I was like 6 years old. 2-seater. It's really a cool looking vintage go-kart. Make it a center steer, 1-seater. And I had a Briggs Raptor motor on it from 20 years ago. So I got it out, got it running. And I was getting blistered by everybody. So I'm like, all right, we're going to fix this. I went and bought a brand new Predator from Harbor Freight called Arc Racing, Georgia. Bought a billet flywheel, a billet rod, a racing cam, racing carburetor, fuel pump,
crank,
the whole shebang.
Oh my God!
And so I put this thing together the other night, me and Cameron. So I've built the track across the street from our house, and it's it's not a real big track. So, but before I could hold my cart wide open all the way around it, and it wasn't real fast, but. So I get out there with the new motor on my cart, a fresh tire, because it's still single wheel. I'm not going to live axle it. I'm actually having to brake going into the corner.
Is the track decently smooth?
Half-ass.
If it ever gets decently smooth, I have a weapon to bring your way.
That's what I blew most of my sugar daddy.
On May 6th, we're supposed to interview David Picciuto from Make Something YouTube channel and Making It the podcast. He's a maker, woodworker, and all that. And he's recently, last fall, kind of stumbled into the go-karting hobby. We'll have him on kind of new to the car world. I thought it'd be neat to have a car newbie and have him come on. And exactly what Will said, David's talked about on his podcast a little bit, that motor from Harbor Freight, that build kit, things like that. David's building his own chassis. So we're looking forward to having him on May 6th. And we need to have Sean, the go-kart guy, and Will for sure with their go-kart experience.
For 212 cc's, this thing's making 15, 16 horsepower. And I didn't stroke it or really anything like that. It was basically what is stock in the engine is the piston, the valves, the crank. Everything else was changed. You can stroke it and put bigger valves in it and stuff like that. But with our track, it really wouldn't do any good to have any more power. I'm already overpowering it anyway, but it sure to hell is fun.
So, Sean, what are you spending $1,200 on? Because we'll rehash all of this again.
We can literally do a whole show on this. I mean, we can spin that into a whole show easily.
Yeah, again, we're doing that in 2 weeks.
I looked on Racing Junk. Found a couple things on Racing Junk and found a couple things on VW Vortex. Racing Junk is weird. Racing Junk is not all Racing Junk. Racing Junk is racing and street junk. I found a little 96 Honda Civic hatch that runs for $400 on Racing Junk. I don't know whether any of y'all have ever liked or driven. John, I know you have, actually. I'll take that back. You used to be into CRXs.
Yeah, and I couldn't find one for $1,200.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't exist. But a Civic, yeah. I mean, you could literally take a little Honda Civic for $400 and go on eBay for another $800 and build an autocross Slayer. $250 coilovers, strut tower brace, rear shock tower brace, and some sway bars. Tires would throw you out of that $1,200. For that little car would be absolutely epic, and it'd be just a great little weekend toy. And it's an adult go-kart, going back to the go-kart theme. There was also on Racing Junk, there was a 240SX mini stock car. Already gutted, already caged, already set up for asphalt oval, rear-wheel drive mini stock, runs, needs a clutch, $1,100. I found a 88 Volkswagen Cabriolet convertible for $1,000. It is a basket case that runs. The top is completely shot. It's cool. My mom had cabriolets the whole time I was growing up. I used to borrow them all the time and head to Virginia Beach, and we used to go cruising. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff out there, man. It's crazy.
So which one are you buying?
I'd probably, because of where I am right now and because I really want to go roundy round racing, I'd probably buy the 240SX.
Buy a go-kart, come roundy racing.
Oh, is it an oval? It's not. It's an oval track that you have. It's not a road course.
Yeah, it's an oval track.
You're in trouble.
Who wants to go? Adam, did you find anything, or were you ready, or we jump into Derek?
Like every good student, I waited to the last minute, did a little internet research here.
Yeah, we watched you.
Exactly. Did you hear my mouse clicking away? You know, when push comes to shove, you can find some really good stuff. And it's surprising. I'm glad Will already mentioned Subarus, because I'm a huge Subaru fan, and I've been looking for a project car. And lo and behold, there's a beautiful 2002 Impreza 2.5 RS near me. $1,200, got good looking silver paint, silver interior, could use a rear bumper cover. It's like the body's in great shape. I don't see any visible rust from the photos on Marketplace. Could be a great chassis platform to do a turbo upgrade, TI upgrades to it. I know there's a carbon fiber and aftermarket body kits that you can really have a lot of fun with these cars. And plus the whole driveline is essentially interchangeable with a more contemporary STI. A lot of guys do the 2005 and backs. This one's got me seriously interested. So I might have to save this to give him a call tomorrow, because I can use a new little 4-door hot car. So this could be it.
It might be the time.
Yeah, could be motivated to sell. Who knows?
Kind of interesting. Everybody's doing some sort of project hot rod race car. Kind of dying to see what Derek's got.
Okay, well, let's see. I found an Alice Chalmers and a Husky 48-inch mower deck. So is that not what I was supposed to be looking for?
Well, you live in Kentucky. That is probably a road legal vehicle.
You got to cut that bluegrass.
Sounds like a daily driver to me.
All right. Well, I have struggled with this. I'm never going to find a car that I truly love for $1,200. I don't know. There's nothing as old as I like for that kind of money.
There's nothing steam powered out there for $1,200.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but you got to dig it up out of the ground, find parts for it in other burial pits, things like that.
You just hire me to make the parts.
No, shut up, Will. Why wouldn't I just make them here? As long as I turn them on a lathe, I'm good.
Did you come across something, or are you in the same boat I am?
Here's my previously viewed vehicles that I've been looking at over the last few days, just to give you an idea of the range of vehicles I have looked at. Let's see. We've got an 86 BMW 3 Series. We've got an 88 Pontiac Fiero. Oh, I should probably say the prices on these, shouldn't I? The 86 BMW 3 Series is $800. It's a not running project. $1,300 for an 88 Pontiac Fiero. Now, obviously, these are or best offer, so I would get it. Let's put it this way: I'd get them under $1,200. 86 Nissan 300ZX that I was looking at. See, a 71 Porsche 914 that needs floor pans.
What's the price on the 914? Because I came across a few of those, and I was actually surprised to see them in the $3,000 and $4,000 range.
It's $1,800 or best. And then the one that probably would probably wind up going with, if I had to go pick up a running driving car that you can get in and drive away, is the 1993 Volvo 240 sedan.
You would buy a Volvo.
I'd buy a Volvo.
But honestly, no, the one that I would be most tempted to get that I found, although it is all the way out in Washington State, there's a 63 Ford Falcon convertible for $800 because it does not have the engine and transmission, and I happen to have a spare Falcon engine and transmission here at my garage that I could put in.
Well, I made the rules harder on me than anybody else because I go, I don't want to, I want to spend $1,200. I took transportation costs in. At the maximum I was going to spend is $1,200. So I only looked at cars, $1,200 and less. So I dug through, and my rule is it had to run well enough for me to get home. And I did find a Rampage that probably would have run well enough for me to get home.
Really? You found a Rampage for $1,200?
I found two. So one of them didn't run. One was an 82 that didn't run, and one was an 84 that kind of sort of maybe did.
That green one that we stumbled on.
Well, let me see. Let's see if the screen shares here, because I found this.
$2,500?
Oh,
wow.
No way.
That has to be blown up.
There's
Very good
no
condition,
way.
runs great, current tags, all maintenance. Holy crap.
That's $11,000.
Guys, I can't see
like I was going to say, it's either like everything on Facebook that's $1,200 and they mean it's 12,000 or 15,000, some arbitrary.
Zero.
So I go, no, but hey, for $1,100, I would buy. It's a Dodge Ram 2500, 5.9. Cummins diesel, 147,000 miles, lift kit, everything. So we know that's not true. This one was believable. It's a Audi A4 convertible. It's $1,200. It might mean 12,000, but it all kind of depends on the problems it has and such. 122,500. But where I spent hours. I probably spent about 8 hours looking for
Holy
things.
crap.
And I did, anything that I wanted. MR2s, CRXs, RX-7s, 914s, Porsches in general. Went through everything until my iPad crashes 12 times in Facebook Marketplace. I did auto temp, and I got fed up. So I'm taking my $1,200, and I'm just going to buy a dang Rolex. I found a 1965 Rolex two-door stainless steel watch, $11.95. I'm going to have more fun with that, and I'll time myself as I start walking places.
It is a two-door, so it could tie it into a car.
Even more tied in. You got the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. There's a whole lot of Rolex.
Yeah.
Tie in.
Got a leather
I'll
wristband.
give you that, John.
That's about as creative as I've ever seen John get, so we have to give that to him. I mean, that's impressive.
And to plug, this is at Levy's Fine Jewelry in Birmingham, Alabama, which is where I bought Zara's ring and various other jewelry. So
And I just bought a watch from them. So
if you want to
go buy another one.
Race down there, this one just kind of looked appealing. I mean, it was the cheapest Rolex they had, but hey, $1,200. But that's where I got.
I want to go. I'd literally.
It'd be pretty awesome when the go-karts and the Alice Chalmers shows up there to buy that with you.
I want you to put the Dodge truck back up there because hell, I want to go buy. If that's $1,100, I want to.
There's no way.
There's no way that's $1,100 unless it's money laundering.
That's called clickbait.
We've invited Adam on the show to talk about insurance.
Well, I'd like to know how much I would need to insure my $1,200 car for.
You could insure for $1,200, but if you upgrade your stuff like Will and put a bunch of money in axles and aftermarket parts, then you got to have a conversation with your favorite insurance guy and make sure you got the right policy coverage amount to respond to it. Because if someone walks by and steals it, rips it off from the go-kart track or anything else, you want to make sure that maybe you're covered for what you've spent already in it. Never hurts to ask and have a conversation, and what you pay for it isn't necessarily what you want to insure it for either.
Like I said, Adam owns this company, Martin International Insurance Brokerage. Some of his background, he was a vice president with Hagerty Insurance. He's also a McPherson College grad. Upcoming episode, Amanda Gutierrez from McPherson. We interview her. Adam's also graduated a year or two after Will and I, and took even more advantage of some of the great improvements that we talked about with Amanda and McPherson having. Hagerty, and his office was at the Peterson. He's now relocated. He's outside of New Orleans. We just thought we'd have him on to, he's an independent broker, so I believe he can sell you insurance from, he represents multiple companies as opposed to having somebody just on with Hagerty and spinning Hagerty, or somebody just on with Grundy, spinning Grundy. We put out on social media a couple of weeks ago some insurance questions, and I got some responses on that. I had some of my own. Derek obviously had one there.
Yeah, but mine was sarcastic.
He alluded to one that's not on the list, but is becoming more and more discussed, and some people aren't aware it exists. Semi-joking about Will insuring his go-kart on the racetrack. What do you know about racing insurance and track insurance, Adam? Are you familiar with any of that? Or
I am, yeah, absolutely. It's a popular thing when you can afford it. let's be honest. If you are most car guys are going to, I have a Camaro. I like Subarus. There's lots of cars that can be street strip sort of applications. Your daily driver turned weekend racer, autocrosser, your policy is probably not going to respond to you drifting in a parking lot around cones, especially when your buddies are filming you and you smash into the light pole. You really got to be careful when you're out there. But once you've kind of graduated from your street car to a dedicated track car, maybe you're working with a race shop, you kind of are doing an arrive and drive situation. It's where you can buy track time insurance or high performance driving education insurance for one day or one weekend. TA and some other racing organizations have a program where you can opt in for season-long insurance to cover your car. And with that, though, you've got to be careful and read the fine print. It's not like auto insurance for your daily driver. There's typically no liability. We're all good drivers, right? But maybe in the red mist, maybe you're in that corner too deep and you plow into the guy next to you, you push him off the road course, and then he flips. He's got a major personal injury. He might file a lawsuit or go after you. It all kind of depends on the racing spirit of the environment. So there's typically no liability coverage. So you got to be a responsible driver while you're out there, especially kind of an amateur or a semi-amateur versus sort of, a NASCAR or Formula One driver. Those are whole different rules and stuff. For most mortal car guys who are taking a purpose-built car that maybe they built or they've commissioned to build, be responsible for yourself. The coverage you can buy is like physical damage to your car. I mean, you spend a bunch of money on graphics, bodywork, suspension. If you swap paint with somebody else on the track, there's coverage for that. It usually comes with a high deductible, $10,000, $15,000. But then it'll cover you up to maybe $100,000 worth of the vehicle value. It's definitely worth a conversation with your insurance agent or someone in the field to kind of narrow down what kind of racing you're doing, what kind of car, what kind of value of your car, how often are you racing, are you a licensed driver? There's lots of variables, but long and short of it, there is motorsports insurance out there. But to be honest, I'd say 90% of the people just run without insurance on the racetrack. It is a given. They just know it's on their own checkbook and they try to be respectful and safe as possible. But, things do happen. It's out there. But again, it's not cheap, but it's available.
I know a GT3 RS owner. He's on his second one because he's glad he had track insurance on the first one. He's actually a pretty good driver, but it's just one of those things that happen. I mean, it's racing.
Sounds like his policy should come with driving lessons.
Bill Riley said it on the episode that's currently out, or most recent release at our recording time here. When you're racing, you have to be prepared to come home from the track one day without the car or to leave the car at the track because that's part of racing.
We built strictly an autocross car. I mean, it is street legal. You can drive it on the road. It's pretty much trailered to Good Guys events, and it's running autocross or trailered to LS Fest and stuff like that. So, I mean, is that something that you could definitely insure, even, parking lot racing, autocross, stuff like that?
Yeah, great question. And thanks for clarifying because it kind of falls back to do-it-yourselfers or custom-built cars that have that dual application, that street and strip. You've invested a lot of time in engineering, money, fabrication, leather, whatever you want built into your race car. Even if it's not registered with the state, like, when you register a car at the state, that's going to require the insurance. Now, when you build a car, you sort of now have this tangible asset and you're kind of putting it out there in the world and you're putting in a trailer and driving it around. Well, it's exposed to elements and other traffic and it can come loose inside the trailer. And that's a lot of money you've got sitting inside there. And that car, that asset can be insured. So if it's a $50,000 car, if it's $150,000, if it's a $40 million car, it can be insured. And your car will, you're taking a Good Guys event, it's covered. If it's on most standard collector car policies, it'll be covered while it's, sitting at home in the garage. It's covered while you're loading it on and off the trailer. When you're trailering to an event anywhere across the country, once you get to the track or the venue or the site, that's where it gets a little bit gray, but you kind of have to think to yourself, where is that line in the sand where I'm going from driving from my pit or my paddock stall to the live sort of racing course? Do I pass these orange cones and now it's just me in this track environment? Kind of a lot of my race guys kind of visualize when you kind of buckle in, helmet on, that's when your insurance is going to stop, most typically for a standard auto policy and stuff. It's super common. I mean, Will, what you're describing is a purpose-built track autocross car, but it's the same thing for Pebble Beach show cars. They're built, they're shown, they're not driven anywhere. They're trailered to and from events. They just happen to drive onto a golf course. Your clients and many people are driving to a parking lot, but again, got to be mindful of like the venue when you drive onto a race course, that sort of dedicated event where one car at a time is doing a time trial or an autocross. That's when you're going to be on your own checkbook. And then I say with one caveat, always got to check your policy. There might be rules there. You might have gotten special permission from the insurance company because you've got a super rare car. Maybe you're going to do an exposition lap, a demonstration lap during the lunch hour while everyone's back in the pits. I have gotten things done where you're a special invitee to an event and you're not going to be driving all 10 tenths, but you're going to be out there going through the gears, letting everyone see it run and sound and listen to it. But you still might have coverage because you'll be by yourself and you're a little bit more of a controlled environment. When you're spending big dollars and commissioning special cars and custom builds, absolutely, that's an insurable asset. Take care of that first, and then we can kind of work out how you use it, what are you doing with it, and where the insurance needs to go to respond and pick you up in case you get some damage to it.
We have the Grundy Hot Rod Shop insurance. I mean, it doesn't matter what I'm driving, where I'm at, if it's in my trailer, if it's in my shop, it's covered. When I have care, custody, and control over the vehicle, I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, I'm not going to be driving a customer's car on the autocross. I may put it through the ringer out here by my house, but that was a question for me to pass along to my customers.
I was going to say, well, it's a good point because a lot of us need to trust restorers, aftermarket accessory shops, share your baby with someone who's more mechanically inclined than you to tune it, fix it the way you want. And you said the key word there, Will, when it's in someone else's care, custody, and control, that is a very responsible automotive business owner is going to have that garage keeper's coverage in it. They're keeping your car in their garage. Kind of very simple, basic stuff, but that means it's in your control, Will. So you're responsible for fire, theft, keeping the doors locked and keeping the car safe. And even while you're driving it, your insurance policy is going to respond and look after it. But as soon as that customer comes back, takes the keys and drive home, the hat kind of goes back onto them, and the ownership responsibility for the car is theirs on their drive home and while they park it in their garage and so forth. So you're very smart to have that product in place to look after you and all your employees, and especially when you're trailering things around,
you have to.
You're smart to have that looking after you first.
I've got just a quick question that pertains to actual track day insurance.
Yeah,
you go from the regular street car, street truck, street driven truck insurance policies that are comp and collision to the shop policy that Will was just talking about, and then you have the actual track day policies that you can get that will cover you for a specific event. Are all of those more targeted to like taking your car out to Barber or down to NOLA where you're at, Adam, or any of those track day policies? Like, do you have a specific drag race policy? Do you have a specific? Is there an autocross policy that just a rider that you can get for a weekend event? Did you answer that and I missed it? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
There is an event by event, like a weekend pass, if you will, or a series. If you put yourself in the shoes of an underwriter, let me help you put yourself in the mind of an insurance underwriter. Like they want to control risk rather than just like everybody out there running go-karts in their front yard. They would rather you be on a track, and hopefully there's a track with an ambulance or some safety protocols. Maybe there's good lighting. It's all about control. And if me as an independent driver going to do an event, if I want any likelihood of qualifying for insurance, I'm going to want to go to a reputable track with good facilities. I'm going to want to do it with a sanctioning body or an organizing body that's got a good reputation. Any of the national associations are going to have corner workers, marshals. They're going to have, the proper waivers in place when you enter their premises. Those are some of the things insurance underwriters are looking for. They just want to see that these kind of boxes are checked. I mean, it's like applying for a mortgage, right? There's just things you got to do. So the underwriter is going to say, what kind of car, where's the venue, who's running the show? Do we know, have you run the show for several years, or just a brand new event. There's going to be some exciting things like that. If you're getting into it, trying to decide one weekend over the other, err on the side of the more reputable, brand recognized, more experienced sanctioning body. And when you apply for that insurance, look at that piece of paper that the underwriter is going to look at on your profile, and they're going to say, oh, they're going to NOLA, or they're going to Birmingham, or they're going to Daytona. Oh, the SCCA is going to run this, or VMCA is going to run it. It's just they want to see some details, and then more likely they're going to
right.
offer you their rate. And again, it comes with deductibles or coverage rules, limitations, the ceiling, but you can still cover your car and be protected if you want to write the check. And John's got a good friend that already used it, and I've got customers that have used it, paid for it, but have never had to turn in a claim, and they sleep better at night knowing that they have it. And I've got other guys, kind of like your personal risk tolerance. If you're getting into racing and you're going to a racetrack, I mean, like Will said, like you got to be prepared to put your life on the line. You might not be coming home, and your car might not be coming home. There's guys who are totally fine with that and don't want the insurance. They would, rather buy tires and fuel and brakes and just have another good weekend. It's having a gut check with yourself. If it was all gone tomorrow, would you be okay with that, or would you like a check to kind of get back in the business of racing?
Right. No, that's cool. It was more.
I hope that helps.
It was more a question of if there was type of racing specific coverage. It just sounds like you just have to be wary of the sanctioning body that's covering it and the size of the event, the way the event's run. That makes perfect sense. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, motorsports, if you think of it from any insurance underwriter, you could say just motorsports in general is a category of insurance. They're not always going to narrow it down to, are you doing drag racing? Are you doing autocrossing? Are you doing vintage NASCAR? So broadly speaking, you can buy insurance for motorsports applications.
And like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, I mean, you can have a $600 car that you go out to the track and have an absolute blast with. And most of the folks, you could probably walk away from a $600 car. But I also know people who literally have $150,000 autocross cars. You don't want to hurt that car, or more. I'm sure there are several $300,000, $400,000 autocross cars out there. If you take your Super Trofeo out for the weekend and you want to go around some cones and risk hurting that paint, then it'd be a good idea to probably have some coverage.
I'll tell you something that was nerve-wracking. The Dart that we built, that car cost a lot of money to build, and I had to autocross that car.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
Oh, please let
me.
Yeah,
you wouldn't like it. It pushed bad. You would have hated it.
I tell you what, let me be the judge of that for myself, please. I would love to drive that car.
Call Brian Franks. He bought it at Barrett Jackson. See if he'll let you. I was a little nervous.
Especially when you were talking to Will, we touched on a lot of little things that were some of the questions. You touched on being insured while my car's in my trailer and I'm driving it to an event. Okay, I go out, I buy something in California, $100,000, and I'm going to have it shipped by a reputable shipper. I'm not going to use any of the names, but the orange trucks or the green and white trucks or something like that. I'm going to have it shipped here to Alabama. At what point do I need to buy insurance for that vehicle? The moment I buy it and the money's wired, the moment it gets on the transporter, or is it insured on that transporter until it gets here? Can I put it off until the day before it arrives? Or what's your recommendation there? Or on the flip side, I own the car and I'm shipping it to Pebble, or I'm shipping it to the Concours of America and I'm putting it on one of those trucks. I know they carry some sort of insurance, but is there anything that you recommend to further protect me and obviously my property, just kind of as a safety measure?
Great question. It's actually asked quite a bit, especially I travel to a lot of car auctions. All of the trucking companies are there, filling up trucks and sending cars all across the country. And it always comes up like, oh my gosh, when is that point I should insure the vehicle? To be honest, a gray area or a window of new purchase acquisition, like when you purchase the car, it really is when did you transfer money? Do you have the title in hand? What is state recognizes you transfer the title? There's lots of legal sort of ramifications of a transaction. Insurance guy, as a car guy, as soon as you've paid money, you've got maybe a bill of sale, or you've taken the keys, you've taken that first step towards buying the car. That's when I recommend putting insurance on the car. Whether you're going to go pick it up and trailer it home or drive it home yourself, or if you bought it out of state and you're having a transport company get it in 2 weeks' time. You want to protect yourself for your financial responsibility. You've got this car, you've committed to buying it. Maybe you signed a bill of sale. Maybe you've wired a deposit and you're waiting for the signed title to arrive in the FedEx the next day. I would err on the side of CYA. You've got to just protect yourself first. Put that insurance policy, get a date started for your insurance policy. That's what any claims agent is going to look at as well. What are the effective dates for your policy? Well, the policy started on May 1st and, you bought the car April 25th and you're telling me the damage happened on April 26th. Well, can't do anything about it, So I would err on the side of insuring the car as soon as you've just committed to it, right? There's no sense in waiting 2 weeks or 3 weeks to put insurance on it because you're just postponing when you have to write the check. But it's going to be the same check for the insurance premium, whether you write it today or 2 weeks from now. To your question about shipping logistics, when you've purchased a car, again, you want that policy out there covering you from the time you own the car. That way, if you ever have a claim or anything wrong, you've got the insurance company working for you rather than, let's say you bought the car, hired a trucking company to transport it. It's in their control, like Will's comments about garage keepers coverage. A trucking company has motor truck cargo insurance for all the stuff inside their trailer. Well, that's only covered for their responsibility. And then we don't know what type of policy they bought. They could have bought a $100,000 policy or a $5 million policy. And we don't know how much it's going to cover you for your car. If your car, another car in the trailer catches your car on fire, the trucking company may not be responsible and they're not going to pay to fix your car and you didn't put insurance on it, you're going to fix your car yourself. Trucking companies do have insurance. The question is how much. That's a very important question to ask your shipping agent or that trucking company and to understand how it's going to respond to your vehicle. And that example of another car catching on fire, you've got insurance policy on your car while it's in transit. Your policy, you're going to be able to turn in a claim and say, hey, my car was with this carrier being shipped across the country. Another car in the truck caught fire. Caught my car on fire. It's not my fault. I'm going to turn in a claim, bring it to Will's shop. He puts up an estimate and I work and you work as a customer directly with your insurance company. They've worked with you because they're your ally. They're going to fix your car. And if there's any negligent party, they're going to subrogate against who's at fault. So maybe it's found that other car that caught fire, it was their fault for leaving the fuel on and the fuel pump was running and there was hot exhaust. Any number of reasons why something would catch on fire. If they're negligent, let the two insurance companies duke it out behind the scenes. Meanwhile, you and Will are working on getting your car fixed and getting back on the road and so forth. I always err on just get the insurance started right away and get that effective date started to protect you because that's really your backstop, your kind of your bookend for the policy year.
You're saying long as I have a policy on the car, I should be reasonably covered. It's not going to exclude the vehicle because it's being transported. And I'm only talking domestic shipping. We're not even going to get into international stuff. I'm good there. And the other recommendation is the moment that, say, I'm at Barrett Jackson, I'm on TV on a Saturday afternoon, and I just paid $2.3 million for, Jeff Gordon's, Monte Carlo or whatever. I sign my bill of sale. The first thing I should do as I'm sitting down is to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, I bought this, and this is what I think the VIN number is, and we're good to go.
Wishful thinking. That would be an ideal situation. I've been to Barrett Jackson, been to a lot of auctions. That's usually the last thing you want to think of doing is calling the insurance guy. However, most collector car policies come with automatic new purchase coverage. If you are at an auction event or if you buy something on Craigslist or what have you, generally speaking, you've got about a 30-day window to report to the insurance company that you bought a car on this day. That's a pretty long leash for people, and it's easy to forget paperwork and, did I do that thing? Was I supposed to call my insurance guy? So it's a good practice to, make the purchase. If you're at an auction, chances are your insurance company might have a booth there and you can give notice to a representative there. Or a lot of my customers text me there's a screenshot or a bill of sale or something, and I can start the process and start documenting those dates. And we can follow up on critical paperwork if necessary when they get back to their home office or, the week after the auction event. John, to your point, best thing to do is, call your guy, your representative, or go online to your insurance company, get it added to your policy, kind of get that date stamp, but also be mindful that you've got automatic new purchase coverage. Some have varying amounts. It might be equal to the most expensive car you have in your policy. Sometimes it might be capped at $25,000, just to kind of get you started. And then that's until you call in and say, hey, I bought this car 2 weeks ago in Scottsdale. It's lot number 123. They can download the photos off the website, add it to your policy, and essentially they're honoring that 30-day window, and they can backdate, start the policy the day you bought it, and protect you. And then you can also confirm with them that you didn't have any losses, while it was at the auction field, because you don't necessarily take possession right away while you're at the auction weekend. Sometimes you leave it there for a day, or the shipping company doesn't pick it up until 2 days after the auction. So you can make sure that you don't have a loss while it's out of your eyes and in possession.
What you've said there makes sense. I mean, if I go out and I buy a car, just because I go to the Ford dealer and buy a new Mustang, I know I've got a 30-day window. But at this point, I don't have any collector cars in my garage, anything that's insured like that. I go and I buy an Esprit at, Russo. I'm really not going to get that 30-day window because I don't have any established collector car insurance. I can't call XYZ collector car insurance and say, hey, 15 days after and say, hey, I bought this car 15 days ago, blah, blah, blah. But on the way home from the auction, I crashed it and, you're saying that 30-day window, or I want to make sure it's clear, that 30-day window is going to kind of more apply to an existing customer, or has a better chance of applying to an existing customer rather than, Joe Tiger guy who just bought something.
You're absolutely right. It's a great point.
You said Joe Tiger guy. Have you been watching that?
I just keep seeing on my Facebook feed. Now, a big question that comes up all the time, and I get it all the time as an appraiser. I got it all the time, and I want you to explain it, because even some mornings I wake up and I get the terms reversed. Stated value and agreed value. What do I want that's going to protect my whatever is worth $150,000 today, and when I crash it 3 years from now, I want $150,000 for it. Policy do I really want to buy? Which one? I'm not even going to get into a little of the details that I know. Which one do I want to own, or which one's more favorable for me as the consumer?
Yeah, for any car collector owning a vehicle that they want to put insurance coverage on, that the car, it's a very prideful ownership of that vehicle. It's important to them. It's a family member. It's a child. The key term you're looking for an important car like that to insure is guaranteed value. You want that guarantee that if you bought it for $150,000, you want to insure it for $150,000. That way, if there's ever a covered total loss, you're getting a check back for that $150,000. So it's look for the guarantee, as they say. What's on the Callahan Auto Parts? It's on the box. Guaranteed value, and that stated value is sort of a carryover term from the standard market insurance. Your Allstate, Geico, State Farm, your normal everyday insurance. Stated amount is a loose term for like book value or a depreciated amount. It sounds like it's agreed upon or something concrete, but it really is an open door to apply some subjectivity to depreciation, mileage, you name it. If you're a car guy or girl looking to insure a very important car, you'll want to see on your insurance policy that talks about a guaranteed value. Everything else you can really disregard, especially when it comes to collector cars and vehicles, boats, motorcycles, Alice Chalmers trailer, tractors, and stuff like that.
Go-karts?
Yeah, Will.
I think if you're willing to write the check, they're willing to write a policy.
Have you ever insured a go-kart, Adam?
I have not insured a go-kart, but I will say you can. However, it may not be for like running in the street or on your track across the way. I've seen a lot of collectible go-karts that are essentially hanging on the wall like motorcycles.
Oh yeah,
and that kind of falls into the automobilia. The ephemera that goes with the cars, the gas pumps, neon signs, all that cool garage art. That's stuff that I can insure, and a lot of guys do, because they could have several $100,000 worth of cool garage stuff. Their homeowner's policy may not respond to that, or have no idea how to fix an old Wurlitzer jukebox or a porcelain, gas pump. Like, it's nice to have a collector car insurance company look after those things too. But no, go-karts. I mean, yours could be the first, Will. This could be fun.
Will needs a short wheelbase vehicle,
That's
5
right.
horsepower policy.
14.
All right. Look. You guys have all had mediocre questions here. Okay. All right. Look, Adam, I've got
All right, Derek.
my 1919 Chevy 490 touring car.
Yep.
Everybody's talking about, I want to trailer my car across country. I want to trailer it to a show. I want to drive my car to work.
Okay. How often? How many times do you want to drive to work?
Every sunny, warm day there is.
Every sunny, warm day. So,
and I live in Kentucky, so it's a lot.
You live in Kentucky. It's a lot. Okay, so you're going to have 9 months out of the year that you could tough it out, even more if you wanted to. There are some collector car insurers that will allow you to drive it to work, to use it for errand running or for purposes outside of normal collector car use and activity. And I don't mean to be vague, but because car guys, we're all sneaky, right? We all want to just go drive and have fun. But there are the insurance people who are experts and, they want to make sure they charge the right premiums to fix these cars once they do break, because there's other people driving cars out there that just tend to drive into old cars because they stare at them. So to all protect one another, we got to limit our driving a little bit. But there isn't, to my knowledge, I haven't come across a policy that will provide guaranteed value for your particular car for daily driving. I shouldn't say never, because in the insurance world, you can just about get anything done, just whether or not you want to pay for it. So it goes back to track insurance. If you can afford it, it can get done. But out of most standard out-of-the-box collector car insurance policies, they're going to have a limitation on how frequently you can take your car to work or drive it on a nice sunny day. That limitation, I could say, Derek, comfortably, if you do it a couple of times a month, I think you're going to fall within the guidelines. If you have a really good heart-to-heart conversation with your agent or underwriter or insurance company and provide, here is a photograph of my dedicated parking spot at my place of work, or it's indoors and I have security cameras. My commute is only 3 miles long and it's on, back roads, and you show them a Google map. Like, you would need to argue your case and demonstrate why this is a good risk, why this is reasonable, why you think it's so fair. Articulating that I'm a car guy, I built this myself, it's one of my 17 cars in my collection, I work in the automotive business, or you got to paint the picture. And that's what I do for a lot of my clients when I'm working with insurance companies is you just got to understand the car collector, their use for it, and how is that insurance policy going to respond. And unfortunately, someone does have to say no when it comes to, well, you can't drive it that much to work or that often. That just falls out of the comfort level of the insurance policy or the underwriter in terms of how frequently you drive it. I'd say 2 to 3 times a month, you're doing okay, but it definitely warrants having a conversation with your agent and your insurance company on what they're comfortable with, because they'll be writing the check if and when you ever turn in a claim.
Yeah, so what I just heard was all the more reason to have a 15-plus car collection, because then you just rotate the cars out every day, and you're only driving, one car a couple times a month.
Sounds like a plan.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I just heard. So, I mean, I'm up to 4 cars in my collection, so I think I'm getting close to a good rotation on those cars.
Well, the wannabe lawyer in me always thought, back when I had my cater room and stuff, and it had its limited use policy, I could drive it to automobile events. Well, I worked in an automobile museum, so every day was an automobile event for me. So I don't know if it would actually fly, but you might want to try that one. I
mean, that's where I'd go with it. Exactly. I mean, and like he said, I mean, he said a 3-mile, back road trip. Yeah. I mean, there's a 3 in there. I mean, 36, mile, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's maybe about an hour drive on back roads to work. I mean, that's nothing. Come on, that's not like there's no risk there. Come on.
Well, it's a conversation with the underwriter, and with back roads, any circumstances. I mean, we all have exposures. John driving to the track, or with me living in Los Angeles, I had an office at the Peterson Museum. I was going to an automotive venue every day and could argue the same course, but there's that reality check of, okay, how much exposure, how much road time is that car getting? The traffic density, I mean, it can get really kind of neurotic. It's worth a conversation. I mean, when you build a car, there's a ton of back and forth about how you want the fit and finish, how the steering needs to feel, the driver position. Like, you've got a conversation with your car owner. I mean, when you can have a conversation with your underwriter or your insurance guy, and everyone's on the same page, how and what you're doing with it, and understands the safeguards you're doing with your car when you're taking it to work or to the track, like, as long as you're understanding, anything can get done.
Derek, are you done with your line of questioning? Because I've got a kind of a big one that's been proposed or presented to me a couple of times recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am, but if I come up with something, I'll interrupt you, John. Don't worry.
I know you will. I have a 2-car garage at home. I have full of woodworking tools. I have my cars in the driveway, and I guess there's a car in the driveway I should ask you a question about too. Now, I went out and bought this collector car, and I want to put it in a mini storage down the street, or I want to put it in a collector car storage facility, fire suppression, secured, blah, blah, blah building that's designed for storing collector cars.
Yeah, cool.
That's obviously not going to fall under my homeowner's policy. Is it going to fall under the collector car policy? Do I need to add a rider? And that'll also move us in kind of to your automobilia statement earlier. What about the extra parts? What about the tools that I might want to have to go with that I'm keeping at that facility?
Most collector car insurance policies, insurance companies know everyone's going to start by asking the question, where's the car going to be garaged? More often than not, typically collector cars are garaged at home. There are several people out there who have multiple garaging locations, or maybe they have a office warehouse and they keep their cars at their place of work, a hangar, a second house, or a detached garage. So collector car policies are going to respond wherever the car is garage kept overnight. And that's assuming they've already accepted and we've had a conversation about where it's garage kept. If it's in your neighbor's garage across the street, all the insurance company needs to know is the address. And, okay, what are the security features over there? Is it, locked door? Is the garage door closed? Has it got, 3 walls, a door, and a roof? It's safe. It's a private use storage locker down the street. Just what's the address? It doesn't have a gate. Just the insurance companies just want to know that when you're not driving it, it's kept in a locked and a safe environment. And there's lots of degrees of safety and security. And of course, the more, the better. And the higher collection value you have, you might start to realize some pricing discounts and considerations if you've got alarms and central station, burglar, and fire alarm, or sprinkler systems, or security cameras, that sort of thing. Generally speaking, collector car policies are going to follow wherever that car is garage kept. Even if it's at Will's garage for a month or 6 months, insurance companies know cars have to go out and get repaired and come back. If you've got a winter home in Montana, or a summer home in Florida, and you move cars back and forth, they just really need to know the address and the security features there. And John, you mentioned one important to note about like the driveway. There are a couple of insurance companies who are collector car insurance companies who are expanding their underwriting appetite to accept classic cars in carports and in driveways, or even like in backyards and fenced enclosures. For the longest time, that was a strict no-no. It was just, everyone wanted the security of a garage environment. You can think of, you don't drive your car very often, so a garage environment it's most exposed, just sitting there. But you got your wife's car coming in and out, you got the kids playing in there, you got ladders and woodworking equipment. That's a lot of exposure. But what they learned is that, cars left outside, they got wind and there's other things and hail that could happen to them, but in all likelihood, it doesn't happen that often. So some of the companies started experimenting with offering coverage, driveway and carport situations, and found that there wasn't a terrible loss ratio, and started offering considerations in certain geographic areas across the country. So you got a carport or a lean-to off the side of your garage, you got a backyard, even keeping it in your car trailer on the side of your house can qualify in some instances. What you're going to want to do is just like take really good pictures and again, help the underwriter understand where you're going to keep it and how it's protected and argue the case, why it's safe. And we can probably find you policy or a coverage while it's in your driveway or on the side.
And since Derek took this advantage to talk about one of his cars, and in this last question, this crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Last fall, we purchased a former SEMA show car, upper five figures of modifications, blah, blah, blah. It's a wide body Cadillac ATS with a lot more under the hood modifications and things like that. Cool. Now it's used as a daily driver now. We didn't pay a fortune for it. If it gets into, it's being used as a daily driver, it gets into an accident on the interstate on the way to work. Mm-hmm. Should I have additional riders on the policy for that? You know, something that, I guess my question is, daily driven, you know, modified car. When I was at McPherson, I had my CRX, and it was, you know, mm-hmm. Coney drops, coilover dropped, and aftermarket wheels and things like that. And I hit a dead deer on the way to school one morning. And of course, State Farm worked with me, and, you know, they kind of watched out for me. But, you know, mm-hmm. now I'm talking, we wrecked this ATS, and it's going to all of a sudden, instead of being a GM quarter panel, it's got to be a custom fabricated quarter panel that matches the other side of the car, etc. Mm-hmm. What riders should be in place, or is that something when it happens, I just go to whatever insurance company and say, mm-hmm. you know, have you had this happen before?
Good. I work with a lot of people who similar situations where their daily driver is their only car or their show car. It's their passion, whether it's an autocrosser or if it's a show car to some extent. Again, when you can afford it, there is guaranteed value insurance coverage for a car like yours that's used every day. With a company like State Farm or any other standard market insurance company, I would err on the side of sort of how do you claim proof your insurance policy or your vehicle. So I would have, I always recommend and talk about like the 3-ring binder. Will, I'm not sure when you build cars, what sort of portfolio or documentation you have with your car, but I think because, you know, all our backgrounds are in restoring cars, like I like to have a binder of like parts lists, fabrication hours, time. John, I could think with your car, there's probably magazine articles, photos, period stuff. Like I would document your car to say that, okay, this is not a normal Cadillac. This is a Cadillac that's been modified, and I want my policy to respond accordingly. Okay, insurance company who I'm already doing business with, what options do we have? You know, I'm not ordering off of the normal menu at the drive-up window here. You've probably got something behind the scenes that you don't use very often for a unique situation like me. John, it's worth asking more questions with your agent or exploring what you can do. But I think you start by sort of claim proofing your car and having that documentation. So if you do hit another deer or get rear-ended, that custom roll pan or fender or quarter panel can get remade by maybe the same shop or another quality craftsman who, you know, going to have to build from scratch or modify a stock piece and go from there. So it's not a very black and white answer. I'm sorry, but you know, if you can afford it, there's always coverage. How do the rest of us live with, you know, what we can buy off the shelf, tweak the policy just a little bit? And that's really a one-on-one conversation with your current insurance company or as you start shopping with anybody else. I hope that helps.
Kind of know what the answer is, but it's somebody who's in my that situation. I've had custom, cars all my life, so I've always dealt with additional riders and things. Even as far as back when I had a conversion van, I had to have, an additional rider because if it would be crashed, our everyday insurance company looks at it as a Ram cargo van that cost $20,000, even though I paid $58,000 or whatever for it because of the interior and the high top and the TVs and things like that. They just go off a VIN number as opposed to what the real world is, unless, it's kind of obvious. But I'm somebody, when I have a car accident, I want to get it out of the way and not have to deal with fighting or getting these questions taken care of.
Well, think of even just doing aftermarket wheels and tires on auto policies. it's worth mentioning to your agent that, hey, I just dropped another $5,000 on custom wheels. Is my policy going to respond to that? Or is it going to put the factory steel wheels back on the car if I ever curb this or do something? So that's where having a relationship and a good conversation with your agent or your company to kind of just be honest. This is what I got. What can you do for me? And you'd be surprised that there is a lot of wiggle room, and there's different coverages that might not just be as heavily marketed as what they do have on the shelf that might pertain to your Cadillac.
And this probably should have been the question we started with. In the simplest terms, what's the difference between me walking into Hartford or Progressive or Geico or State Farm and buying a policy on my 79 MGB worth, say, $10,000, buying a collector car policy? I mean, I've already got 3 other cars through, name the insurance company, the little lizard guy. Why do I all of a sudden want to have to deal with you or another insurance agent? Because you're the last person in the world I want to give money to.
Exactly. It's insurance is like the second check that you have to write that you didn't know you had to when you buy a car. I think working with car people, when you have that collector car or that important car in your life, like you know it's important because of how you take care of it. And that should be the gut instinct that says, okay, my standard everyday insurance does not qualify. And maybe if anyone could take anything away from this, it's just trust your gut. If this car is important to you, insure it on a better policy than what's out there. I work with a lot of car guys and think of artwork, think of jewelry, think of gun collections, think of all the audio equipment and stereos, all the cool stuff, stuff you love. That's stuff that you should schedule and insure. So, if your daily driver is just like an appliance and it's a truck and it's for you, it's just a thing, and insurance is a necessary evil. Your standard market insurance company does a great job of insuring you for all of your exposures for driving your car every day to work and running and commuting and picking up kids and so forth. When you've got that collector car, hopefully you've got that gut check and you think, okay, there's something better out there, or I should be curious, is there something better out there? And that's where that guaranteed value policy for that car. I mean, it could be a $5,000 car, can't necessarily be our $1,200 stimulus check vehicle we're talking about earlier, but a lot of insurance companies will go down to around $3,500 or $5,000 for a collector car and insure you there. And that's really going to be, $100 a year for full coverage at a guaranteed value of $5,000. We're talking a significant savings in insurance premium, and you get that guaranteed value for the car. And as you work on it, fix it, paint it, build a bigger motor, you add value to it, you can always adjust your insurance value on that car. Sean's got something, you take it over to Will's garage and you start with a $10,000 shell. Every major restoration milestone, the rolling chassis is done, the body gets put back on. You've write another big check to Will to get the car moving forward. That's a time to, adjust your insurance policy if you're following it along. Or there's even insurance that can, follow a restoration and ratchet up your coverage every quarter systematically for you if you're on a good restoration schedule. It's awareness. Most people don't know is that collector car insurance exists. Talk to your friends. Hopefully you're involved in clubs. Hopefully you listen to some podcasts and watch some videos, and people talk about it enough where when you do buy that collector car, or you inherit something, or you just kind of have that gut that maybe this is more valuable than my modern day car. I want to take care of this asset, and you can find the right insurance for it.
That sounds good. It pretty much all the questions I had on my list. Like I said, some of these were mine. Some of these came from, I know you saw the Instagram post requesting questions from fans of the show and that. So we got a few of the questions answered. Hopefully we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I know Sean's over there thinking, because he has a collector car that he doesn't quite know what to do with. And
the fellow Camaro guy.
Will's got to answer these.
Huh? Sean's a fellow Camaro guy, right? You got a 69?
I had a 69. That was my first car.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 100 cars ago.
Okay.
I wish I was kidding. Actually, no, I don't. Right now, I've got a really rare 84 Lawrencer wide body 190E Mercedes. It's a gray market car. That doesn't really.
Oh, cool.
It's not a very valuable car. That's the thing. And I have it insured for, I just declared an actual cash value, and it's so low compared to what an AMG would be of the same vehicle, that my insurance company was like, okay. They didn't even question it. So I didn't even have to have an appraisal of the car to get it insured for what I declared as actual cash value. I'm still scared the car is going to get hurt. I'm still scared the car is going to get hurt. I'm still scared that, and the other side of it is literally like, even though I had this thing declared for or insured for actual cash value, the panels, even though I have it declared for actual cash value, it's a car that literally you can't buy fenders for it. You can't buy quarters for it. You can't buy the valence, the front bumper, the rear bumper, the hood. The whole car is completely different than a stock 190E, and the parts don't exist.
Right.
I guess if that car ever gets hurt, it's just totaled instantly, I guess. Does that sound right, or am I thinking completely wrong?
You're correct. However, this is you're not the only one. I mean, if parts are unobtainable, that is an inherent risk of enjoying and owning that vehicle. There's lots of custom cars out there, and I know Will can attest to this. That they're not making any more parts, and they're gone. So everything can be fabricated. I mean, you can restore anything from an ashtray or a serial number. It's just whether or not you got the budget for it. You got to be mindful of your guaranteed value on your policy. Like, what is it going to be? If it's a $30,000 insurance policy, will $30,000 cover, repairing a front end collision? Or if you did get rear-ended, could $30,000 cover someone fabricating and rebuilding, the rear end of the car? And that's a dilemma that many people have when we're talking insured values, $10, $15, $20, $50,000, having to restore a car. That's not a very big budget, clearly, to fix custom pieces. Now, I will say, rapid prototyping, 3D printing, mold making. I mean, if things are getting faster, more efficient, and I believe costs are coming down. I mean, I think Will can comment. As a car owner, collector, it's a good rule of thumb to just kind of wonder, okay, all I'm going to get back is $30,000 for this car. If I get hit, I hope I really get hit. So I walk away safely unharmed, but that the car is so destroyed that I just have to walk away and I take a $30,000 check. You get a $30,000 check, but then it's going to cost you another $30,000 to finish the repairs at a restoration shop. So $60,000 all in. It's an unfortunate predicament. At least you're going to get a check for 30, and that's better than being insured with a standard market insurance company, which would give you a stated value or a depreciated amount, which we don't know until that day comes, and that's skeleton in the closet that no one wants to deal with. So better to have the guaranteed value up front.
So I've got another question, Adam.
Yep.
Maybe it's a little off track here. I hopefully I'm not getting us off the conversation that was just there, but just got to thinking about it in that conversation. Keep mentioning, having it own a car, you have it at a shop like Will's, or you have it at a restoration shop. Now, what if you're a hobbyist with the skills to do your own work at home? You've got your car, project car, and you're building it yourself. This thing's tore apart to pieces. You buy it as a basket case and you're putting it together, but you've got money invested in it. You've got your time and, you've got materials in it. You've got costs that are making this car, at least these parts of cars, parts of a car worth something before they're all assembled together. It's in your garage at home. How are you insuring that? What is the right way to insure a project like that you're working on? I mean, God forbid your garage catches on fire one night.
Absolutely. If you've bought yourself a $1,200 stimulus check project car, I mean, we can, get it home, get any car, get it in the garage and get started working on it. If you're not registering it for the street, for example.
No, you're saying not registering it immediately, but you're working towards being able to drive it on the road.
Exactly. So you've got a project car in the garage. You're putting dollars into an asset, into something physical that your homeowner's policy is not going to respond to. If you're concerned about it being, catching on fire, melting down, and you want your money out of it, that we should get an insurance policy started for it. It would be, you don't need full coverage, so we can reduce that coverage down to comprehensive only, which is that fire, theft, flood, vandalism type material or type coverages. As you like working with any restoration shop, as kind of you reach those milestones in the restoration where you've got significant money tied up into it, it's usually a good trigger point to say it's time to bump my insured value up. Or you've bought the restoration coverage endorsement and it automatically raises it every 3 months and stuff for you. So, and then once your car is ready, and let's say you're going to trailer it to the body shop, or you're going to be moving it to another garage, like there's trailering coverage we can add on while you're there. Or once it's done, and then you're going to roll out of the garage for the first time and go driving it, that's when we have a conversation, add the collision, add the liability coverage to it, so you're safe to drive on the road and you're protected out there. Hope that
fantastic. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, Sean, if I kind of jumped in there and took anything off track, but it popped into my head.
No, not at all. No, it totally made sense. A reasonable add-on to what I was going for.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think, that's an important one, because a lot of people in this hobby are basically trying to be home hobbyists. There are guys that like cars. Maybe they've got a son. The son's into cars too, and all of a sudden, hey, we want a father-son project. You got to figure out how to make sure you're covering that investment.
We talk a lot about young kids getting involved in the car hobby. I remember after I graduated from McPherson, my dad's always had collector cars, custom cars that we drove and enjoyed. And one of the things he struggled with was getting a 20-year-old, 21-year-old insured while driving a classic car. I can't remember exactly who he wound up going with. A lot of the bigger names in the classic car insurance world wouldn't cover unless you were 25 or older. Has anything changed with that? What's going on with that?
The industry is definitely maturing and getting more comfortable with younger drivers. And this goes with just underwriting experience and analyzing all the accidents and losses that have happened with young drivers driving cars. Less of a problem as it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Or it's less difficult, rather, let me say that. So if you're a 16, 17, 21, 22-year-old kid, if you got a good driving record, you have a daily driver, and then you have your collector car that you're working on, your project car or motorcycle, there are insurance companies out there now willing to look at you. And sometimes I've had to write a policy for like mom and dad and then juniors on there as a driver. Collector car policy, it's collector car rates. Everyone's on the same page that, this is the son's car. The son's driving it the most. Mom and dad are just on there. That's just satisfying the underwriting profile to kind of fit the square peg in a square hole a little bit better. It's not a no-brainer, piece of cake. You got a good driving record. So, which is tough as a 16-year-old car guy. I mean, I had tons of speeding tickets and all kinds of issues. So I know I didn't qualify for the long time myself. Feel everyone's pain, but it's gotten better. Still have to say no to some people now and again, just because the underwriter just says they can't do it. You have too many speeding tickets, and you want to insure, a turbo car. They say no. There's no silver spoon yet. So
well, that's good to hear that's available now, because it was when I was 15 years old. Heck, I hopped in my dad's 46 Chevrolet and drove home from Knoxville, Tennessee with him sitting beside me. And it was no big deal. But once I turned 20, and I was home from college, and I wanted to hop in the hot rod and go to town to the cruise night, I couldn't do it. He had to be with me, or I had to ride with him.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating, very frustrating.
The industry is maturing around. There might be an instance where there could be a small surcharge to, overlook some speeding tickets. Can get done. And a lot of collector car insurance companies want the next generation of car guys to be supported and to be in the hobby. I mean, we all do. We all want to perpetuate the cycle. They're torn because they want to insure you. They want the enthusiasts to be out there. But the reality is it's an inexperienced driver, not just driving to their after school job, but now they're in a high performance possibly, or a home built restoration or a car of their own to whatever degree or quality, there's a lot of risk, and they're in the insurance company and they're going to pay to fix it, but they want to make sure before they accept you that you meet some guidelines. So as a young person, keep your driving record clean, be in good terms with your mom and dad, because you still might need them for a little while, but it's getting a little bit better.
Don't get caught.
Yeah, don't get caught. That's the best one. And don't tell your insurance guy. So let them find it. I think, John, we had mentioned I wanted to address tools and spare parts and all the accessories, all the cool stuff we all have in our garages and, in our respective offices. Like, if that's important to you, like schedule it. If you've got a big Snap-on box full of stuff, if you've got, you bought some art Monaco Grand Prix posters, $5,000 or $10,000 worth of stuff hanging on your walls, like that's insurable stuff. Like I would hate to see it, get, lost in a fire or flood. No one's going to put that back in your pocket. I mean, but you can put some dollars back in your pocket, and it's super cheap to insure stuff like that. Your mom or your wife insures a ring. If there's something really important to you that you would want back or to be compensated with, talk to your insurance person and get that scheduled on your policy, whether it's your homeowners or your car policy or garage policy. Just be aware that it exists and it's out there. And then there's, I think for us, kind of down here in the South, there's some coverage out there called the evacuation expense. Like when hurricanes come around, when floods come around, and we're under a named storm or other sort of significant situation, your insurance policy might subsidize some of your costs to transport your car out of harm's way. I mean, the insurance company would rather spiff you a couple $100 to get your car out of the path of the storm and to high ground rather than risk it in a garage and have a tornado or a floodwater come through. So I think that one's a big thing out there. And another coverage that I usually recommend is have some sort of like towing coverage. Collector cars just break down. I mean, it is the nature of the beast, and we've all been there on the side of the road. It can be confidence inspiring to know that you've got, a flatbed tow truck that's going to come pick you up, take you to the nearest shop, or if you're on a driving rally, it'll take you to the next hotel stop or the nearest restoration shop. That's just even cheaper insurance to have while you're out touring and driving with your car, just because of the limited use these cars get. Things freeze up, things have issues. They don't like to work well. So make sure you've got towing coverage, and then, man, put a fire extinguisher like in your car. Like that's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Have it inside. I mean, there's these cool new things out of Europe. It looks like, what a road flare looks like? Strike the end, now you get a road flare, put it out for safety. It's a fire extinguisher that's basically a road flare. It's a chemical reaction that turns into basically vapor. It basically sucks the oxygen out of the air, smothers the fire, and it's about as big as a road flare, and it lasts 8 times longer than a little 3-pound fire extinguisher. If you don't want the big red bottle sitting on your floorboards, they sell these really cool little road flare sized fire extinguishers that actually last longer and can put out more fire. So
they're halon. Yeah, I think they're actual halon sticks is what they are. I think.
Just don't mix them up with your road flares.
Exactly. Yeah. So cheap insurance. Make sure you got your policy. Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard it. I don't know if it was from his mouth, but probably safe. I know it's one of your former bosses. He stated that the biggest fear for an insurance company is fire, because you can restore a car from absolutely any except a devastating fire. The guys with the Tim Special are going to prove that wrong, but yeah, restoring it again, I think it's a very safe statement. And why they can do the Tim Special is what the owner has said, is that even though it was in this massive fire and the car, it got so hot the aluminum melted off of the car. The fire department didn't come in and put water on it. So the car heated up gradually and cooled gradually and kept the frame intact and didn't mess with the metallurgy. If the fire department would have come in, put water, it would have cooled too fast and made a brittle frame, and it wouldn't be restorable. That's why that one gets around the fire. That is the absolute scariest thing, I think, to an insurance company is fire. So do whatever you can to prevent that, or follow the rule that I was taught when I was 16, that if you see somebody going for the fire extinguisher, shoot them because it's better to let the car burn to the ground. Your choice, not necessarily my recommendation, but definitely when it comes. Well, when it comes to a modern car, you're always going to have electrical problems and smoke smells and things from that. So take care of them.
Yeah, we started with brutal. Are we going to end on brutal? That was wow.
Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up.
I guess I have one last question for Adam.
I know what it is. I know exactly what it is.
Is he still on with us?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Is he okay? I've been seriously thinking about getting into collecting historic Zambonis.
There it is.
How do I insure those?
Gosh, if it's got a serial number, we can just insure just about anything. If you can show passion for it, maybe you've got 2 or 3 Zambonis, we can do it. Now, whether or not you're allowed to actually use it as a Zamboni on the ice, it might just be like a showpiece reserved for your garage or living room, but we could probably get that insured for you.
Well, I'd like to.
He wants to drive it to work.
No, I don't want to drive to work. I mean, just if I get invited to do like an exhibition run at like a Red Wings game or something, it'd be something simple. Yeah.
I believe I'd go to the Predators. It's a little bit closer.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, nobody from Michigan likes the Predators.
I'd love to see a vintage Zamboni. I can't even picture one in my mind. Please let me have that opportunity to work on getting you covered.
Don't worry,
I would love to see that.
We're gonna 3D print one, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. So yeah.
Derek actually has a vintage Zamboni. When the steam car starts leaking, it just melts ice. That's a Zamboni.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's been great having you today, Adam. Do you want to go ahead and tell us where to find you and Martin International in case somebody wants to contact you and take part in some of your services?
Yeah, absolutely. Website is insuringyourlifestyle.com. Because car guys, we have lifestyles and do kind of weird stuff. We don't fit the standard mold. So I look after people with fun stuff, and insuringyourlifestyle.com is where you can find me. I'm also pretty reasonably active on Instagram at Martin International. And I travel to all kinds of car shows, auctions, driving events. I love to get out there and meet people, and happy to have a conversation with anyone talking about cars and insurance and help you solve some problems for you. So thank you for having me again on, John. Really appreciate it. Everyone, it's been great. Will, it's good to see you, buddy.
You too.
We'll have to connect soon.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully everybody knows where to find us now. No Driving Gloves, Instagram and Facebook, No Driving Gloves Pod, Twitter, NoDrivingGloves.com, the web. Look us up, subscribe, tell somebody about the show. Hopefully we helped you protect your assets and your lifestyle. I'm out of here, guys.
Adios.
Adios.
Later.
The Zamboni lifestyle, right?
Kill it.
Zamboni style.